Novo. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm not really biased, but my neighbor from over the corner, former Maroon Chief Murdy Rowe, is here with us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to invite for you quickly someone who is gonna take the first bat of the ball, the first crack of the ball. You see what I did there? Yeah? He's no stranger to being the opener. Ladies and gentlemen, my predecessor, Derek Kelly. A round of applause. I was going to introduce Wavell, but the labor rights have been saying that we're calling for our senior parliamentarians who've retired to the pavilion to come out. But if we're proud of our people, what we go to hide them? We are proud of those who have served, and we're happy they still want to be a part of what we're into. Derek Kelly. Now I was saying about my batsman. Him have on him pad and a bat, and you'll have to duck every now and again because some 6 and some 4 and some leg by and so wide. Me know me thing, don't? Him go ball. Our opener, Wavell Hinds, Shadow Minister for Labour and Sports.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Comrade Burchell. I'm in your hometown. I see my General Secretary here, Dr. Comrade Dayton Campbell, and I see Shamil as well. It's nice to be in Region 6, and it's nice to be back doing some work. I want to recognize, before I go further, my former constituency of Eastern Hanover, who is now represented by my former road manager and treasurer, Comrade Andrea Perkins. And alongside her is the chairman and councillor for the Sandy Bay Division and the current deputy mayor of Lucy, Comrade Andrea Dehaney Grant. Comrades, I have the very hard task of trying to protect the sector that will look after all the sectors, or some of the sectors our comrade leader just spoke about. The labor force. With all the hospitals and the beaches and the futsal that my colleague spoke about earlier, we have a workforce that has to work within those spaces and they need to be protected. Good. So I'll say to you, it's great to be here with you today to discuss issues that impact us all. Issues that affect the very heart of our economy and society, our workers. The People's National Party has long been a champion of workers' rights. A tradition started by prime ministers like Michael Manley, P.J. Patterson, our beloved Portia Simpson Miller. Today I want to reaffirm our commitment to continue that fight with a particular focus on the protection of workers' rights through enforcement of the international labor laws, International Labor Organization standards, and ensuring that workers is not left behind. I will be discussing issues that directly affect the everyday worker, precarious employment, the misuse of contract work, underfunded labor offices, and even the impact of foreign workers replacing Jamaican workers in certain sectors. Precarious employment and contract abuse. One of the most pressing issues we face as a country is the rampant misuse of contract work. It's an issue that cannot be ignored. In many industries, workers are hired on short-term contracts, often renewed repeatedly. These workers are doing the same job year after year, but because they are classified as temporary, they are denied the benefits, security, and rights that permanent employers are entitled to. This creates a situation where workers are vulnerable to abuse and exploitation. It's unacceptable for workers to be subjected to unfair working conditions simply because of how their contracts are structured. We stand by the principle that work is not a commodity. Workers must be treated with dignity and provided with security in their employment. The PNP will introduce and pass legislation to regulate contract work in Jamaica. The law will limit the duration and scope of short-term contracts and ensure that repeated renewals trigger automatic reclassification to permanent status, thereby providing workers with job security and access to the benefits they deserve. Strengthening the Ministry of Labor and Social Security infrastructure. The work of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security is critical in addressing many of the challenges faced by Jamaican workers. However, the ministry's infrastructure, particularly in the West, right here in Montego Bay, requires urgent improvement. I want to commend the staff in the region, both in the office at Sam Sharp Square and at the Industrial Dispute Tribunal, IDT. They are doing an outstanding job with limited resources. But the truth is, they need more support. A PNP government will provide the necessary resources to improve the ministry's capacity, including increasing personnel assigned to these offices and expanding the staff at the IDT. We will also consider adding a second panel in the West to ensure cases are heard promptly and disputes are resolved in a more timely manner. The long waits for hearings are unacceptable, and they were not what was envisioned when the Labor Relations Industrial Disputes Act was passed 50 years ago. Ensuring Jamaican jobs are protected through work permits. Another pressing issue is the use of the work permits. There have been numerous complaints about foreign workers taking jobs that Jamaicans could and should be doing. We have heard the cries of our entertainers, ground transport operators, and other sectors that their livelihoods are being undermined by foreign workers brought in to fill positions that could have easily been filled by qualified Jamaican workers. A PNP government will enforce stricter regulations when issuing work permits. We will ensure that no work permit is granted unless it is first confirmed that no Jamaican is available to perform that task. We will put in place a rigorous mechanism to screen all work permit applications, ensuring that Jamaican workers are being replaced by foreign workers. Addressing the BPO sector. The business process outsourcing sector is one of Jamaica's fastest growing industries, employing tens of thousands of Jamaicans. However, workers in this sector continue to face precarious conditions, low wages, and a lack of job security. It's critical that we provide better protection for BPO workers, ensuring that they enjoy the same rights and benefits as workers in the other sectors. This includes ensuring that wages are fair, working conditions are safe, and that job security is guaranteed. The PNP will work to ensure that the BPO industry adopts ethical working practices that protect workers and provide a pathway to career development rather than a revolving door of short-term contracts. Establishing a joint industrial council in the tourism sector. A few months ago, we witnessed strikes and protests in the tourism sector where workers expressed their dissatisfaction with low wages and poor working conditions. These protests drew attention to the deep-rooted issues in the sector that must be addressed. While some progress was made, we cannot continue to rely on protests to bring about change. The tourism sector is vital to our economy, and we need a better system in place to ensure that workers are treated fairly and with dignity. A PNP government will work with all stakeholders, hotel owners, management, unions, and the workers themselves to improve industrial relations in the sector We will establish a joint industrial council in the sector to foster better cooperation and resolve the issues that have plagued it for too long. The JIC will facilitate regular dialogue, ensuring that all voices are heard and that sustained solutions are found. It will also help establish fairer working conditions and improve benefits for tourism workers. We stand for decent work as promoted by the International Labour Organization, and we believe in the power of partnership between workers and employers to make this a reality. Empowering our employers to adopt ethical practices. On the employer side, we must ensure that hiring practices are ethical and transparent. Workers should reserve work contract for genuinely temporary or non-core functions, such as seasonal work, special projects, and not for permanent roles that are integral to the ongoing operations of a company. To support this, we propose that employers submit their organizational charts to the Ministry of Labor, detailing the roles that require contract work. This will help the ministry to ensure that work contracts is used correctly and not as a loophole to avoid offering permanent positions with benefits. We also encourage businesses to establish internal compliance mechanisms that conduct regular labor audits to ensure they are meeting legal and ethical standards. This proactive approach will help prevent exploitation and ensure fair and just workplace for all. Workers and trade unions. For our workers, it is essential that they remain vigilant in protecting their rights. Unions must play a key role in tracking and reporting abuse, and workers should be educated about their rights under the law and union agreements. We will also establish tripartite monitoring committees that include equal representation from government, employers, and unions. These committees will oversee and review the status of contract labor practices, violations, and enforcement, ensuring data-driven reforms are enacted. Furthermore, we will launch pilot programs in key industries like construction, hospitality, security to test new enforcement tools such as digital contract registration and grievance portals. These programs will serve as modules for broader reforms across sectors. In closing, let me reiterate, the PNP stands committed to ensuring that every Jamaican worker receives dignity, respect, security, and the security they deserve. We will act swiftly to tackle the issue of contract abuse, improve the Ministry of Labor's infrastructure, protect Jamaican jobs from foreign competition, establish better industrial relations in key sectors like tourism and the BPO. The time for change is now. We need a government that stands with its workers. We need a government that puts people first. Together we will build a better, more equitable Jamaica for all. I thank you.